Tracy's asking, when can we make a digital twin of our room so the pets/cars know about their environment? Maybe this is more of an Aoki question.
The answer is that this kind of is an Aoki question. I think if you read their wonderful black paper, there's one of the components of Aoki is topology, and they're handling this exact question, right? So I don't really have an answer. I guess the answer is I'm not really sure.
Maybe for that we should explain what topology is in terms of computer vision.
So essentially, right, with AR, with these new LiDAR and new like scanning AR technologies, you can get a sense of where things are, right? And the more you move your camera around, you're kind of building a map slowly over time, right? The trick with Aoki, as with everything with Aoki, is that it will be done collaboratively, right? So the more devices there are at the same time, the better the image will be, right? The more accurate things will become, and also probably the more efficient it will become, because multiple devices are now sharing the load of doing this task. It's not all happening on one.
Absolutely, and this very fundamentally different approach from what a lot of other companies are doing is this sharing the load, this collaborative SLAM, which is happening, is one of our biggest advantages in terms of battery use, in terms of having an object appear orders of magnitude better than what's currently possible. So just to give you guys a little bit of a perspective, if you're doing GPS, we're talking like 5 to half a meter. No, yeah, it's like 8 to 5 meters. Then we have with the computer vision that's currently being developed, we can go from 5 meters to like 30 centimeters maybe. And then with Aoki, we can go into 3 centimeters and less. So we have quite a high fidelity of where some object can be positioned. And this is actually why we're developing everything in shared AR, because we now think that people can actually see stuff. So now it can be real.
Another question from Tracy. What was the idea behind those old camera bot models? When we were thinking about all of the things you can do in an app like this, right? There's a large variety of things you can do, right? This is and this sort of is where the inventory came from, right? Which is if you have, let's just pick a number, 50 things you can do. How do you initiate those things, right? Because a lot of those things are very specific, right? Playing fetch is very different than going for a walk, which is very different than taking a picture, which is very different than feeding, right? So how do you let the app know what you want to do? So that was the problem that the inventory is built to address, right? And so then the idea sort of became, okay, so we can take all of these different things we want to do and we'll put them in the inventory as items. In the current implementation, it doesn't necessarily make sense to have an extra camera bot right now. But there are ideas in the future of actually utilizing those bots maybe to see something in the wild. I don't know. We'll see. It's just an idea we're exploring. So far, it hasn't gone anywhere specifically, but that doesn't mean it won't.
Yeah. For the people who are not in the gaming industry or who maybe want to know a little bit more about game design in general, most game design, the way that people imagine game design is, I'm gonna like take a bunch of little squares and I'm gonna turn them into some sort of characters and I'm gonna make a board and then they're gonna be moving around the board, or maybe we're gonna talk about percentages and ratios and how often something happens, like statistically, right? So this is how you design stuff. But actually there's another part of game design, which is systems design, right? So it's like, how do you make smaller systems which integrate with each other? So for instance, our approach to creating a more varied system design with mini games which can be meshed together is by creating inventory features. And actually, as you're entering the inventory, you're entering a different minigame. So our inventory system is the interface for different games and different experiences. At least this was the original plan with Matterless, which has now already evolved a bit. But yeah, I think that's a good piece of scaffolding to give to people on how games are built.
A good way I like to describe like games, like game architecture, is like a restaurant, right? Player is the customer. There's the front end, which is it's basically all the code that's on your app, and that's the tables, it's the chairs, it's the decorations on the walls, so on, right? There's the back end, which is the kitchen, right? So the kitchen's job is to serve up all this content. The content, right, is the food, right? The menu in this case is something like the inventory. And then you have, the analogy can go on and on, right? Because you can, there's also, you need to build walls, right? You need to build sturdy walls that can hold stuff up. You need to build the proper ventilation system and so on. Like, so systems design is like is taking the concept of a restaurant and actually breaking it down into how is this actually going to work? How are people going to know what they can order? How are they going to place the order? How does the kitchen know what they ordered, right? How does the kitchen know that they have the right ingredients to make that order? How does the kitchen, how does you make sure the order goes to the correct table, right? And there's little procedures and little tools and tricks, right? And restaurants, just like games that invest more in these kind of systems, tend to work much more efficiently. This kind of goes back to the rushing thing, right? If you rush it out, I mean, how many restaurants do you know that are a chaotic mess as far as like what's actually happening behind the mess? People, so
Mm-hmm.
that's yeah. So anyways, that's an
No, that's
analogy.
a very cool analogy, except that instead of serving food, you're serving fun, right? And there
Exactly.
are there's many ways to prepare food, but actually fun is something which is way more ephemeral, way more uncatchable. So creating a fun experience over and over again is like building a whole new type of building, right? So it's like it's not a restaurant, now it's a shooting range, now it's a bowling alley, now it's an office. It's and you don't have blueprints. Like all you can do is you can have faith in some of these systems being able to work well together. And even if you feel like this is a good idea and the whole team agrees, you build it, and then it turns out it's just not fun. There's something missing, and then you go back to the drawing board, and then you need to rethink it all. So any kind of major game that's being built is like building an airplane from not knowing how to fly.
Or building an airplane while you're flying.
Or building an airplane in a restaurant.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Do we have any more questions?
We do. Here's one from Hippo Tangmo. Will there be a breeding feature for matterless pets? This is a really good question and something we talked a lot about. And I don't know where to even start with answering this because we've talked quite a bit about this. But I think I'll start from the post I made that one time about Pokemon Go. We do not want our Inkos to be treated as commodities, right? Because one of our theses is to build an emotional connection with your companion, right?
Every companion.
Actual companionship. What that means is they're not disposable, right? They're not something you can harvest for fairy dust or whatever, right?
Yeah, credits or diamonds or more karma or whatever. Yeah, it's
so like, the more
it's commoditizing stuff.
Yeah. So the more we think about this problem in particular, the more we lean towards not doing that for those specific reasons. Because if you build a breeding system in your game, then you're going to end up with lots and lots of pets. Right? There's going to be an inflation of pets. And the way to fix inflation is to destroy your currency. Which, once, as I just mentioned, is kind of something we kind of don't really want to do, right? We don't think that, at least when we're thinking about our core philosophies, um, is something that we just don't think it fits. It doesn't really vibe, right? The current thinking is actually maybe to, instead of think about this as a collection game or a breeding game, just to really think about it as a game where you have your friend, right? And this is a friend that will grow with you, right? Another thing that we've talked about, right, is that in order to do this, right, really, like, if you have all these different bodies, these different, cats, dogs, rabbits, you have a kind of a similar problem, right? But one of the interesting things about a digital creature is it is not bound to a form the way a physical creature is, right? Realize, like, what is your Inca? What is your pet? Is it the Shiba model? Right? It was just a cougar, right? Now it's a Shiba. It's the same pet, right? So the idea is, right? No, the actual companion is a digital spirit. It's a digital soul, right? It's the pilot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
The ghost in the
so,
machine.
yeah, and so the Shiba body is just a rendering of it, right? Leaning more towards a direction where you only going to have maybe more than one, but start with one. And more likely, it's like you just have a pet who can learn and evolve, and also can unlock or learn how to look like different things, right?
Yeah.
And
So in that way, perhaps there will be a place for breeding or mutating, where you will be able to breed or mutate certain aspects of your own pet. And we have been looking into it. We have been looking at some engines and ways in which we could have a list of traits, like genetic traits, which then could be mixed and matched. But again, this is also something for the future. Yeah, go ahead.
lightning round.
Lightning
Okay,
round, yeah, lightning round. How
how
about
about
karma
karma?
scoreboards? Any rewards? Yes, absolutely. At some point,
At
when
some point,
raccoon, yeah, when raccoon, yes, there will be raccoons. There will be super cute raccoons, which act like total little thieves and eat cake with their hands.
to,
If they don't, I will personally hire people to do that.
answer
Um,
that question, we need to answer the question of bodies. How does this going to work? What is the mechanism there? Just gonna, it's not
yeah,
that it's not ready. It's to figure that
yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Um,
how do we make interaction possible?
there's one in the VIP chat from Baby Tiger. Will Patreon support since day one get any token? Maybe. Maybe.
Definitely, maybe.
Definitely, maybe.
All right. Hippoteng just commented that he says he loves the concept of not disposing the companion for breeding. And so do we, like we're
Yeah.
big animal lovers. We're very happy to have this awareness of what's happening in the world around us and how animals are treated. And we want to create a gamified experience, a simulation experience where you treat animals or creatures around you in a way that you can really kind of
Respect.
create and respect life. And for us, digital is real. And we want people to feel like treating digital things is reality, as it already is in so many aspects of our lives. So we want to create magical experiences which are powered by this incredible technology of shared AR to create a social AR environment. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your
Thank
time, for
you.
joining us in the
And
AMA.
this was fun.
This is Damir signing off.
And this is Jason, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys. Bye.